Sure.
Recording
I think
in
we're
progress.
in. We are recording.
We're in.
How are we doing, Mr. James? Are we good?
I'm good. Yeah, it's a bit hot. I've got a fan on behind me, so just let me know if that's interfering. But yeah, we're all good.
Good, man. I know I do have a fan, but I did switch it off because I was worried about that also.
So can you hear it or no?
I can hear you, mate. You seem all good. You seem all good.
Okay, sweet.
So first things first, mate. A little bit of a tradition on the show.
Yeah,
Are we brewing? Do we have a brew?
we are. Especially on a hot day, I got a hot drink as well. So do you want to know what it is?
I absolutely do want to know what it is, mate.
So no Yorkshire tea bag, but I do have them for normally in the day, but I am a bit tired. So this is a coffee. This is I don't know, it's a Nespresso capsule. It's got a bit of purple on it. It's a number 8. So I think it's quite strong. And there's a bit of oat milk in there. So yeah, you know, what with the I don't know, woke brigade or what have you, we've moved on to oat milk.
Yeah, I mean, are you sugaring or are you sweet enough?
Today I'm sweet enough.
Yeah.
But normally, yeah, there is one sugar in there.
No problem. It's good to hear that the Yorkshire tea is still with you.
Totally, that's literally all I buy in the supermarket. Like, if someone brings something else home, there's a Barney. You know
I remember when we was up at yours and we just got there and we were going to have a brew, and you were like, oh, "I'm not sure whether or not there will be."
I don't want to fall out about it, but what did I have? PG tips or something?
I think it was like, and there was a bit of Earl Grey kicking around. I was like,
oh, I know. Although I do have to say, an M&S tea bag,
yeah,
is pretty good. To be fair, Yaz's mum got me onto that. What are you drinking?
I've got a Yorkshire tea. So I was debating a coffee, to be honest, mate, but then it's gone. It is in the afternoon, and for me,
I know
I'm very sensitive to the caffeine. So
caffeine, yeah, you don't want to overdo it. Depends what your plans for the evening are. I'm out for dinner, so
very nice.
Do with the coffee, but yeah, it depends what your plans for the evening are.
Not masses, mate. Not masses, to be fair. But what's the occasion for yourself?
So, as you know, but maybe your listeners won't.
Yep.
We did have quite a lot of work done to our house recently, from January to April.
You did.
So the builder is taking me and Yasmin out for dinner to say thank you for being patient, etc., giving him loads of money,
of course,
and all that good stuff. Yeah, so it's quite nice, really, because we do get on well with him. So yeah.
Because from my understanding, finding a builder in Jersey. By the way, so for the audience, James is in Jersey. So yeah,
I'm in Jersey. I'm in sunny Jersey.
Sunny Jersey, and in sunny Jersey, it's hard to find because everybody's busy.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's hard to find any tradespeople. Like, if you want anything to say, people just won't even get back to you for quotes, right? So they don't even want the work. They're too busy. They'd rather do like a block of flats where they'll get like 18 bathrooms in one go than come and do your little bathroom. Like, that's how it works. So when you get a builder, you have to be very patient.
Yeah, of course.
And you basically have to do what they want when they want. So yeah, it can be quite stressful, but yeah, it's not easy to get one, but we got one. And we started talking about the work this time last year, and we only completed the work maybe 2 months ago. So that just shows you how long you would have to wait for a big job.
I was just going to say, when we last came over, which was
was it June? Because that's when we started the chats. Was it June or July?
God, I think it was around this time last year. Do you know what? The time's fly?
I know.
It was definitely this time last year, and you were discussing it. And to be fair, from what I have seen, mate, like, fucking good. How is it going? Happy?
Yeah, no, it's going. It's all done now. So there's just like tiny things left. Which, I mean, like all the plug sockets are black, for example, and there's just like a few where they didn't have the right color, so I've just got to wait for them. So stuff like that. So just very, very minor stuff. People always say to me, like at work and that, are you happy? And I like hesitate on the answer because I'm really happy with the result, but it was a very stressful, expensive learning curve. So it was.
Did it not go as like to plan as?
No, I'd say it probably went about maybe 2.5 months over,
right?
And a lot of money over. But yeah, it's
worth it now. perhaps?
Exactly, because it means we'll stay here for much longer than we probably would have if we hadn't done the work. So yeah.
And how was it managing? Obviously, the families. Was it a bit manic or?
When you say managing the family, do you mean managing Yasmin? Is that what you mean?
I mean, how was it all? Was it?
It was stressful. I mean, we were lucky enough to have a place in town where we could live. So like we didn't have to do like this, go and look for like a short-term let.
Yeah.
So that took the stress away because we were in control of like when we moved back in. But it was like we needed to do it, whatever. But yeah, I mean, I think that's partly why he's taking us for dinner, because there was tears along the way. There was arguments, you know, obviously arguments about money along the way, you know, all that good stuff that you'd expect.
Of course,
From lots of emotions, us all sleeping in one room with a toddler.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so there was all that good stuff. So
With
I'll take
like
take the meal
as well. All
yeah, definitely.
yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So mate, there is one question, because I've known you for a few years now and I always forget, and I don't really fully understand it. So what is it that you actually do for a living? Like I
Do you know
understand.
what? Yeah, go on.
Like I understand it, but then like I always come away and I'm like, so they're like, what does James do again? I'm like,
what does he do? Yeah, nothing.
I feel like you just,
okay, I've got. Well, I think the question back would be, what do you think I do first?
well, I always,
we can go from there.
I feel like it's something to do with consultancy.
Mm-hmm.
And you're basically digging people out of the shit to help them get to am I right?
Yeah. I mean, that was my job for a little while. So for people that don't know, Jersey is not only a holiday destination, but it is the #1 finance center in the world.
There we go.
By, I don't know, the Finance Wars, whatever. We have been that for quite a few years. So that means that the main industry within Jersey is finance. And that means that we have a lot of trust companies, fund companies, corporate services companies that offer different services to people around the world. And a lot of people are like, people are hiding their money. It's not like that at all. We've actually got a very transparent regulator, but it is a closed registry, so you wouldn't know who had assets here. So a lot of people do that for privacy reasons, and also we do it well. You know, why would you go and get a trust in, I don't know, it may be in Yorkshire, for example, when Jersey is voted #1, you would go somewhere where people knew what they were doing, etc., etc. So it's a very, very busy industry from finance perspective, but with that comes a lot of companies, right? A lot of banks, a lot of corporate and trust and fund services providers, and they need help with things like change, technology transformation, system implementations, etc., etc. It could be a risk problem. So what I used to do was do consulting for a firm, and we would basically take the client's problem. That could be that they've acquired another business, they bought it, and they want to integrate it. That could be from a people perspective, a technology perspective, a brand perspective. And we would tend to wheel out whatever that project looked like and wheel out a delivery team. And then, see it through. And what I've done more recently is started to work for a software provider. So again, it's the #1 provider for the industry. So we're super busy, especially with COVID and things like that. A lot of people had to digitally transform very, very quickly because lots of people are working from home. So super busy. And what we do is when one of our customers buys the system, I will wheel out a team to understand how big it is, what modules they want to take, whether that's client accounting or what have you. And then, wheel out trainers, developers, business consultants, technical consultants, and then we'll get the project done. They normally last around a year, though. They're not short. They're not short projects. They're normally quite big and complex.
And how long? When was the transition from like the consult? Was this?
January 2021. So the company that I work for now used to be my client. So when they got too busy, they would subcontract work to me and some of my team. So I already knew them. So I've basically gone to work for one of my clients.
I remember now. We've had this, and
I think when we were driving in the underpass, I was like, I don't know what to do. Yeah.
I remember now. And then if we roll back before then, it was in the banks, wasn't it? Was that before then?
Yeah. No, I spent 9 years at a high street bank, RBS. Many of you may know,
Big
now
up.
called the NatWest Group. So
Right.
yeah, your regular run of the mill bank, your savings accounts, current accounts, all that good stuff. Yeah. I spent a long time there.
And then, so yeah, you spent a lot of time there. And then what was in between? So what was because we met in Australia.
Yeah.
Which was 4
What?
Five?
No,
Five?
we're talking 5,
Five.
sometimes maybe 6 years ago. Oh, we're old now.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, we're
old. You can
old.
see from the birthday cards in the background, ain't you?
I know. Yeah, no, I know. Yeah. We need to talk about how your birthday was actually in a minute. But yeah, no, it was a while ago. Yeah, so I left the bank after 9 years when I went traveling, and I met you. So I'd done a good stint. I feel like I'd earned that break by then. And then I came back and I was like, I don't know if I want to go traveling again. So I took a job. I'd always worked with people, right? I'd always managed large people. I had worked in HR a bit. So I took a job when I came back in a hotel as the HR manager, thinking this is going to be such a good stepping stone when I want to go traveling, like hospitality instead of banking. But yeah, no, it wasn't. I hated it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It just wasn't what I was used to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? And I mean, there's no harm in dipping your toe in, is there?
Exactly.
What was the kind of like reason? Well, not the reasoning. What was the motivation behind wanting to go to Oz? Because I know Chris.
Yes, yeah. So you have met? Yeah,
I've met Chris.
Yeah, my good friend Chris.
Chris.
So he's
probably not listening, but if you do, big up.
He probably not. I might send him the link to this after and say he got a shout out. So he's in Australia now, right? So when we left, yeah, he's there. They can't get him home. He makes excuses every single time. You can't get him home. So we can talk a little bit about him in a minute. But we were two peas in a pod, used to do everything together, and I had always wanted to go traveling, but never really had found the right person to go with. Probably, you always think you don't have enough money to go, and you put it off, etc., etc. And then he doesn't think about any of that stuff. He's quite impulsive. So he was like, I'm going. And I was like, okay, I'll go. Yeah. I was in a what you'd call a short-term relationship at that point, which is now the mother of my child. So it did last, but she wasn't very happy, obviously, because I was like, bye, I'm going to Australia.
I remember the calls.
The daily calls, yeah, but we made it work. So I was probably away for about 10, 11 months in total. But luckily, Yasmin was self-employed, so she had the freedom to come and see me in a lot of those places. So would come and see me in India and Sri Lanka and
I always
Thailand.
Forget you did. India.
Yeah, not just Oz. So yeah, we managed to cling on by a thread, and yeah, the rest is history. But that's where I met you. So I don't know if you want to tell the listeners about
how we met. There's been a couple of guests that we've had on Luke being, obviously Luke as well.
I haven't listened to the Luke episode. I'm so upset. I wish I'd done research.
No problem. But we will go into it because I think it is a very cool and exciting part of our lives, isn't it? Totally. People who have listened to that may still get, but basically we rocked up at the Barron Valley in Atherton.
And I would say, I'm not blowing my own trumpet, but I would say I was probably either the Don or the deputy Don of the Barron Valley at that point, because everyone had left at Christmas.
Yeah, you was you were certainly deputy Don, maybe pushing for the Don.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we was
fresh meat. Yeah,
the fresh meat came in, and I remember we got put in this room, the big room with Woollett
room 15,
Woollett and everyone, and Josh Stevenson. He's never going to listen to this, but and then it went from there. But then I think the real time that I did meet you was on the farm when I ended up coming desuckering for an afternoon instead of being on the. And you were like, that's when I first probably met you, and then
because I think when you're desuckering, and we'll probably explain what desuckering is in a minute.
It's not what you think.
Yeah, it's not as exciting as you think.
Yeah.
But you have to talk a lot, right? Because you're walking so slow next to each other in a row. like rows and rows and rows. So like unless you've got, and you're not allowed music either. That's one of the stupid rules. But so you just naturally have to talk to the person.
You did sneak your
next to
headphone in a little bit, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Almost got caught. I was so terrified I'd lose my job.
Yeah, no. Well, hopefully.
I think even one of them came back and said, "Have you got your headphones in?" And I'd like wrapped it all in my polo shirt,
just like,
and
no,
like under the collar. And I was like, "No," and I thought, "Oh God, he's gonna like come and search me."
yeah. But yeah, the de-suckering, it was like up and down, wasn't it? It was up and down. Basically, we were chopping down the trees that had been picked from, and then we would essentially, we would kill the plant, and then
it sounds awful. So
basically, remember how we labeled it as a family. So you had the grandma, you had them all.
Oh yes,
you remember
I forgot about this? The baby, and you had to chop the baby's head off.
And they would say like, "So we need to kill the baby," and you're like, "Sorry, why are we not?
What are we doing?
Are we killing the grandfather? What's going on?"
Yeah. No, it's odd. So basically, what they want is the main tree with all the good juicy bananas on it to thrive. So they don't want any of the little trees around it, like the grandma or the baby, to be taking away the nutrients. So it's our job to cut it and kill it, and we kill it with diesel. It sounds awful, doesn't it?
It does, because then it does really when we're eating those things, you know. And then the bananas were massive, by the way, which
huge, huge.
But yeah, we did de-sucker him, and then you got promoted to like a management position of stringing.
Supervisor of stringing.
You was a supervisor, and you had to keep.
I loved it.
I joined you for a little while. We were.
Oh, I loved it when I had a good crew with me. You and Josh Stevenson, and obviously no one was around, so we used to put the music on.
We had Sepe at a point, didn't we?
Sepe, do you reckon Sepe's listening to this?
Do you know what? Not a chance, but I think I don't know if I did see something on his social media a bit ago. Like, I'm not sure where he's cutting around these days, but
I mean, I wouldn't follow him. Me and Sepe didn't get on, and I don't mind if he wants to ring me and have it out all these years later. But I didn't like him. I didn't like him at all. So I didn't like when he was part of the crew.
I think he was maybe cheating from like, he was clicking the clicks and he wasn't stringing the trees.
Yeah, exactly. And he used to take obviously it's so strict on this farm, right? I'm talking about stupid things like having your headphones in. It's worse than being at school. If you were the supervisor, only you could drive the car and stuff. And he used to go and move the car without telling me. Like, that would have got us all sacked.
Shot, yeah.
Well, yeah, shot, like, literally. And he would like do handbrake turns. I think he even got it stuck in a puddle at one point.
Yes,
like,
yes.
Do you know what I mean? And or he left the headlights on and the battery drained, and you just have to call for help.
And you'd have to ring Dan. Do you remember Dan?
Yeah, he was awful. I hope he's listening too.
He would be furious, because the worst thing is it would be like 4:45 and we'd be knocking off at 5 and the battery wouldn't be starting.
The battery would be run down because he'd left the lights on.
And everybody, do you remember, what was her name? The woman in the factory, the Christine?
Chris, yeah.
Chris, yeah. Everybody wanted to be out the door at 5. And if you were late, I mean,
we were lucky because we obviously had a troopy that came and picked us up. But if you got in Chris's bus, and like she dropped you back to Mariba or somewhere, she'd go.
Yeah.
You'd be stuck. You'd be like, what, $150 taxi home? Like your whole it just wasn't even worth working that day. Like, so yeah.
Do you remember? I just want to touch, while we're on the subject of the farm, I do want to touch on the avocados day that we experienced.
Yeah, that was horrendous. I mean, do you want me to describe what happened?
I mean, I'll let you kick things off, then I'll come in with you.
Fill in the blank. So what did we do? Did we go to the races?
We went to Tolga races on the Saturday, and we agreed to.
We had agreed. So obviously, if you're working on a farm, the reason you're doing that is for two things. One, to get your second year visa, so every hour counts, and two is to save money, right? So when they offer you overtime, you pretty much take it most times because it gives you more hours and more money. So we had agreed to do it, and it was a Sunday shift. And it was on avocados, which we're not used to, right? We're only used to bananas, but it was owned by the same farm. We were definitely out of our depth. We went to the Tolga races on the Saturday, got blind drunk, went back to some house. I don't even know. Yeah, we were just a mess. and then the next day we had to go and do this shift on avocados.
Oh gosh.
I'm gonna go. Like people might say that's easier because they're not heavy, and bananas are obviously heavy, but I've never experienced anything like it. I've never been screamed at like that. I was terrified.
Do you remember when we got there and then like they gave us these little sacks that you put on, and they're in
like
front,
a
and
vest,
he goes,
a pouch, yeah.
And they're like, right, there's definitely, we're going to show you how to cut an avocado, and you have to cut it on an angle so it looks more appealing in the supermarket.
Yeah, honestly, everything gets judged. It's not a case of just ripping it off. It's
it's not just
cut it in the right way. And like, it was, again, as I said, like being at school, he was screaming at us to go faster. Behind us, faster, and he was like, "Do you want to go home? Do you fucking want to go home?" And I'm like, under my breath, like, yeah, I fucking do. You want to go home? But obviously wouldn't dare say that because he would literally be like, "Okay, go home," and I wouldn't have known how to get home from there.
I don't even know where we were, James. I
wouldn't have even known how to call a taxi. Like, we were so vulnerable.
Yeah, we were. We just depended. We relied on the troopy too much. We didn't know. If you wanted a car, you had to hire it off a guy who would rent out a broken car.
Oh yeah, a non-roadworthy car where the bonnet would be sellotaped down. Like, we laugh, and I'm just like, he would literally hire you death traps, and there was nothing you could do about it because where we lived, Atherton, was a close-knit community of what is it? Well, I don't know. Like,
Mick Nasser, he ran that place.
Yeah, exactly, and he had a lot of our passports. Now I'm saying all this back, this all sounds so wrong.
Oh my god! Yeah.
So if when you messed around the car man, he'd be like, "Well, you're not having your passport back." Like, so it's actually terrible.
We actually couldn't.
I feel like I've got PTSD now. We're saying this back.
Because I think the only things that got us through, I mean, not having your passport. I remember getting there and Vince's like,
imagine
you need to turn your passport in. I was like, sorry?
Yeah, you're like, but it's as simple as that. You're not getting a job and you're not getting a room until you turn your passport in.
Yeah.
So you're put in such a difficult situation because you know you need the job and you know you need the hours for the visa and you know you need somewhere to stay.
Yeah.
But he's taken away. It's illegal, I think. I'm pretty sure it's illegal to take someone's passport off them.
And let's be real, like it was very. I loved it, but like it was very backwards, wasn't it? Like.
Oh yeah. I mean, we used to say to each other, would you live in Atherton for the next 20 years for £10 million? Like, we would like say, and it's such a difficult one because you're like, this is horrendous. If it wasn't for like obviously us guys and like our friends and everyone being in the same
boat, the rosé wine.
And the rosé wine, yeah. I mean, there's just no way you would even like whatever.
Nah.
What was Luke's take on all this?
Luke loved it. I think me and Luke were very similar in terms of like we warmed into it. Like I remember when like you'd gone and me and Luke carried on, we actually got into our stride a little bit and started.
What, you weren't in your stride when I was there?
Because you was in our stride, but like you know when you became more of like a don, you was a bit more of a veteran.
Oh yeah.
You understood it more. And at first, me and Luke, we were just like, what is this? Like we're just embracing it as you do. And then I think because we were like captive animals because like remember Josh Steve, like we didn't drink or anything for a while, and then James, you were like, allowed. We're gonna go down the bar tonight then, and we were like, right, okay. And then
are you allowed to do that?
Are we allowed to do that? Because if you got caught,
Josh said,
if you got caught preloading in your room, that was you out.
There's another thing. Honestly, there's so many.
Preloading, by the way, is pre-drinking.
Yeah, exactly. That could be confused with something else as well.
Absolutely.
But yeah, no, that's drinking in your room, which is not allowed. Again, just another money-making scheme. It's purely to get you down to the bar to spend money there and line Mick Nasser's pockets instead of lining your own.
But James, would you have changed it?
No, definitely not. And like we spoke a little bit earlier about Chris, my friend that I went to Australia with. Yeah, he went there not necessarily to travel, to relocate, have a life. So he started working in his field, which was like construction welding, straight away. So he didn't get that experience, and I'm like sad for him because although he's got the goal that probably I may have wanted, which is staying there. He didn't have the experience of going to do the farm work, although he did live in hostels in Sydney, etc. So he did have friends and things like that, but he wasn't stranded in the middle of nowhere begging for his passport back like a child. Do you know what I mean? He didn't have
drinking boxes of goon. I mean, that was
brutal.
Exactly.
Wow. Yeah.
The bakery was good though, wasn't it? Remember?
Bakery was so good. Do you know what? We have this what was a corner shop at the end of my road, and it shut down, and they're doing something with it. And
I remember that shop. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm so sad it shut. But Yasmin always says, I really hope they put a bakery there. And every time she says it, I tell her about the bakery in Atherton. I'm like,
yes.
I used to go every day, and they used to do like two, it could be anything, like a pastry or something, 2 things for $10, which was a bargain. Sounds like a lot, but it was a bargain.
It was a bargain, yeah.
And that would be like my meal. I was basically anorexic by the time I came back, because I was walking for 12 hours a day in the heat, living off 2 pastries a day, and just getting drunk.
And I mean, you were the guy as well, I suppose. I mean, in fact, no, let's talk about Chris a little bit more. So,
okay.
Chris spent more time in Sydney, didn't he? He never went up and in.
He never went up, although and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, when he was applying for one of the many visas that you have to apply for to stay there, he ticked the wrong box and said he didn't have a criminal record.
Oh, yes, I remember this.
So he got expelled for a year and came home to Jersey, which was lovely to spend some time with him.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the fact that he did have a criminal record, it was the fact that he ticked the wrong box. So they let him back in a year later. Yeah. And then this was at the kickoff of COVID, and he went to go and work in a mining town to do welding. And that was in the middle of nowhere. So he has experienced other places than Sydney, but he hated it because it was like lockdown and
brutal.
You just couldn't do anything. He was just on his own.
Yeah. So it was. I mean, it was a good experience, wasn't it? I think we experienced what I would say probably the true Australia. I mean, when people see it on TV, it's not all surfboards and all that sort of stuff. There's a much more to it than that.
Yeah, definitely. So are we on a campaign to get people to go? Because I would definitely recommend to anyone to because I listened to your first podcast. I didn't know that one with Luke was out. I'll have to listen to that.
Oh, with Matthew.
Obviously in your first one you recommended to anyone to do it, and I would definitely echo that.
It's not like a campaign, but I think so many people have said to me, why did you what would you say? Why did you go? How was it? And I'm almost trying to just educate them on all the benefits, because it wasn't just, I wouldn't be speaking to you now if I hadn't have gone. The people I've met whilst been there, the things we've experienced are generally has made us who we are for 100%.
Yeah, no, I would definitely agree. And it's funny, isn't it? Because people often use finance as an excuse. And I swear you came home with more money than you left.
I came back with...
You're rich.
I came back with treble that I went with me. I don't mind saying. I came back with... I went out with the minimum requirement to get into Oz, which I think at the time was a few grand, wasn't it?
Yeah, probably $2,000 or something.
Something like that. And then on the farm, you were like my financial advisor. We were working together. We were right, so we've got this for food.
We used to share washing loads. We were so cheap. So cheap. You wouldn't top up your phone.
Today. It's like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, you just can you imagine not having data on your phone? You'd be like, no.
Well, do you remember when I didn't, James?
Oh, I hated that.
I didn't have a phone for the first 6 weeks. I didn't have Facebook, and I would be bumming the phone off people. I'd be like, can I just check my Facebook? I ain't checked it for 4 days. My mum would be
I know. And all your stuff, you had a phone that didn't have a lot of memory on it. Everything was in the cloud. Yeah. So if you clicked on a picture, it would have to get it from the cloud, and it wouldn't be able to get it because you had no data. And it was just sorry, I can't show you that photo. It's just what?
It was
what?
It was terrible, wasn't it? And then I remember leveling up. I remember getting it, and I was like, oh. But do you remember how much you had to pay for Wi-Fi?
It was disgusting. Everything's extortionate there, and that's why you become so cheap. It was I can't even remember. I just remember it being, and I'm talking for low bandwidth. It wasn't even wasn't great, and it was something like $25 a week or something. It was just it was just mad.
But it was. But yeah, I definitely came back with. I mean, Sydney you can earn some serious coin there if you're mindful with your money. I mean, I'm not saying I was the most mindfulest. I did have my phases where when festival season was around and stuff like
And
that.
that's it. It's not necessarily the goal to come back with more money than you went with.
No,
The goal is to have a good time, right? So like, if you want to blow all your money
do it
and have a good time, do it. You're never going to get that opportunity again.
You don't get that time.
Quit your job.
You don't get that time back, do you? That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that's probably one of the things that puts people off most is the finance aspect, isn't it? People are just like, or it's just like, what if this happens, or what if that happens?
I know. I'm a very fluid person when it comes to money. Like I have I don't know, probably a good relationship with money. I don't get anxious about it or anything like that. So I'm one of those people that would probably be like, just borrow some, go, just take out a credit card, go. Yeah. You'll be able to pay it off. It's fine. Like, so yeah, I'm maybe not the best person to speak to sometimes. I think when it comes to things like that, but
I think that you can have that worry can be. I mean, it can be enough to put you off for sure. Do you know what I mean? I think people do have different relationships with different things, and I think money is important, but you still need to have a good time, don't you? So,
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so then I guess if we sort of fast forward a little bit out of Oz and things like that, and through work, we're sort of into the now.
The now, yeah. What do you want to know?
Well, it's not so much of what I want to know. Like, what have we got? Anything sort of on the horizon? Any plans, like career-wise? You're going to stay?
We do, yeah. Well, yeah, I do. So the company that the company that I'm working for is on a growth journey. So they, I get the impression they want me to stay to help with that growth journey. I know that they probably want to sell within the next 4 years, so I'll probably stick around for a little while to help build that. Which is good because I'm enjoying it. So yeah, sticking with that. I'm trying to think what else. Do I have anything on the horizon? So house is sorted. I have a daughter. I would like another one, but I have to convince Yasmin to do that. And yeah, getting married next year. So a few things to think about. Yeah.
Huge news, mate, on the wedding, by the way.
I know.
Which will be very good indeed. Hey?
Are you going to be there?
I'm there. It's booked.
You're there. Got the booking. Got the booking, Ref.
We did it. Yeah, we pretty much did it straight away. But yeah, Greece will be amazing. I mean, we've not had a holiday for I don't even know how long.
Oh, sweet. So, what better way than to watch me say some vows and
exactly, mate, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much everything sort of rounded up in terms of what you've been up to and things like that, and in terms of traveling. So. Have you got anything? So you've already mentioned about like traveling. If people, you were to want to go, you would obviously push them into going.
Oh, totally. Yeah.
And how did you find it? I think this is quite a good one. How did you find sort of coming from quite a reasonably well-paid job to then nothing?
Oh, living on the breadline. I'm trying to think back to how I adapted to it.
Like at first, again, how did you feel?
I think I always felt fine because I knew. So at that point, I probably had 9 years banking experience, and Jersey, as you know, is a finance industry. So I knew I'd probably be able to get a job when I got back. That was never a worry for me. And as I said before, I've always had a good relationship with and a sensible relationship with things like money. So I'm very much of the mindset, like, because I had a good job before I went, I had loads of credit, right? Yeah. I had a really good overdraft limit, loads of credit cards with good limits. So I was just like, no, I'm going to enjoy this time. You can earn that money back. So it never fazed me to give up my job. I liked my job, by the way. I didn't leave because I was like, in that rut. And I think, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you may have gone because you weren't enjoying yourself at work, or you felt like you needed change. I didn't feel like that. I literally enjoyed my job. Didn't necessarily want to give it up. The only reason I did is because they didn't do like career breaks. So that wasn't, if you wanted to go for more than, I don't know, your annual leave, then you had to quit. That was the only reason I did it. But yeah, I wasn't running away from a job that I hated or anything like that.
And I think you were completely right. I was in that situation where it was like that stalemate thing, where you're like, oh, there's got to be more to life than this. And I was just doing the same stuff. And you just need that. And I think a lot of people do. They just need to take the leap.
You do find that is what you find, don't you, when you start talking to people?
Yeah.
That everyone's got a bit of a story. And a lot of the time it's surrounded around relationships, I have to say.
Yeah.
A lot of people come out of a relationship.
Oh, God, yeah.
They want to blow off some steam. They don't want to bump into their ex. They don't want to be in the environment that reminds it. And they're like, I'll go traveling. And they just have the best time ever. Like,
I mean, I guess for you as well, a little bit, like, correct me if I'm wrong, Jersey, 9x5, am I right?
Mm-hmm.
So
it's a
smallish
island.
Yeah. So I guess if you were in a relationship and you did encounter, you did experience that breakup, we've said before, like, it's a small place, isn't it?
Oh, totally. And if you're in that age range where you're always going out, which we were when we went traveling, so like early mid-20s, you're going to go to the same places and you're going to see that person all the time.
Yeah.
So it is really, that is why a lot of people go, because you can't really escape it. And some people don't bother coming back. Like Chris, for example, didn't bother coming back. My good friend Caroline stayed in Australia. She's home now. But she's going to New Zealand in September.
Wow.
So like a lot of people don't come back because there is a big world out there, right?
There is a big world, mate. I was close, but I wouldn't be where I am now if I would have. So there's always ifs and buts, isn't there? Like,
there's always ifs and buts. So can we talk a little bit about where you are right now? You've got some big news. I don't mean that anyone's pregnant or anything, but you have some big news. You sent me a photo the other day.
Yeah, so I mean, no, nobody really. I've not really spoken about it, to be honest. But
don't let me put you on the spot.
Nah, it's fine, mate. I don't mind. I mean, it's just we've got a few things going on. We've bought a house, which is pretty cool, which is good. Something we've been really working on, trying to get sort of get towards. So that's got coming up hopefully in around autumn. It's supposed to be ready. So touch wood. I'm hoping for October. It'd be nice. So that's pretty cool. Really good. I'm excited to just get stuck back in. I think when you've lived on your own already, because obviously I'm back in with my mum at the moment. It's very hard to come back in. Don't get me wrong, love my mum, but
is she listening to this? Yeah,
she's out in the garden, but she might listen to this one. She will listen to this one if you're involved, James. Thank you. So that'll be really cool. And then obviously just continuing to just build the business, mate. Really, that's the goal. Really, just keep trying to expand, keep trying to help people, and go from there, mate. Really. So that's...
you've got a lot of help to give. I don't know if your listeners actually know how helpful you are. This isn't like an excuse for them to give you a ring to ask for help. You do often cheer people up, etc. So I think you're in the best place job wise that you can be. Yeah,
I think for years I always knew there was something, but I just wasn't sure. I think because I loved like health, I loved sort of like fitness and the gym and things, but I always had this desire to help people. And I guess combining the two together did really help. But who knows where I'll be in a few years. I think as long as I'm helping, I'm not saying it will be outside of exercise, but like, it is good to know there's lots of avenues that I'd maybe like to delve into, which is cool. But mate, as you are yourself, mate, I've rung you in times of need and you've given good advice. I think having meaningful conversations is underrated, isn't it? Like, just
totally. And it's so difficult, right? So it's so difficult because I feel like, so this is probably a hot topic and has been for a few years. Like, it's so, you want to be there for people, but that does take time. Like, you have to make time for those conversations, which isn't always easy. Like, I remember, and I hope you don't mind me saying, but I would say probably you were in some sort of what I would describe as maybe an episode or a crisis, and you wanted to talk to me. And I was on a client site at that moment in time, charging them. I hope they're not listening. And I just left. I left for probably what would be 45 minutes to speak to you and reassure you on the phone, etc. But that takes time, right? You have to give time to these things.
I don't mind you saying that, mate, because I think the more we can normalize these feelings, these situations that we're going to experience, the better. And I will always appreciate, like, well, obviously you're doing that and things. And I think, like, do you remember how we used to, like, we'd be regular voice noting, but we'd always say we need a call, but we know our call it's an hour.
Exactly. It's like, do you know what? You got to book it in. it's probably not like a bad thing that we
No,
don't
no.
talk massively regularly, because it means that it gets stored up for a brew like this, you know,
Yeah.
where you can cover so many things and get a proper update. So yeah, we have remained friends for, well, ever since we met, and
Yeah.
not like, I wouldn't say like flaky friends. Like, I have come to see you, you have come to see me, you've stayed in my house, you've met my daughter. Like, you know, we have
Yeah.
kept up that friendship and committed to it. But yeah, you do have to make the time.
You do, mate. It's very difficult, and I'm pleased we did manage to keep that that connection in as well. Because there was a few people that you just flake off with, but you know when you know, when
You know when you know,
you
you know when you know.
But no, mate, I agree, and I think that is sort of a fantastic way to kind of round this off, because I think the more, I suppose, the take home from that like little bit of a topic there would be like, you know, everybody's going to experience these things, and you know, there's always going to be somebody there who can help, you know, jump on a call.
Definitely.
I think
Definitely.
I think more recently it's been like there's more men struggling as well, isn't there? And I think there's always been a big stigma around like men opening up, because it's like this whole like you need to man up thing. And I think
I know. Do you know what? I went on a course last week. I don't know how we're doing for time, but I went on a mental health first aider course.
Oh yeah.
Monday and Tuesday last week, which I really enjoyed. And honestly, some of the statistics around men are just absolutely shocking. And also there is like, in some of the industries that have like high suicide rates, so construction is one, and well, vets are one as well, which people might be surprised about. But if you think you go into veterinary because you love animals, and then they can't talk to you to tell you what's wrong, and then you have to end up putting them down, it's just like soul destroying.
Exactly.
But some of the statistics around men and suicide was just like absolutely shocked me. But it did teach me so many skills around spotting things and where to point people in the right direction, whether that be like, you know, alcohol, finance, anything that people are struggling with, which I found really, really helpful. And there was a few people on there that I funded it themselves, which I thought was great. They just wanted to, you know, have those skills for everyday life.
It's good to apply to your own life, mate, and to spot out for other people as well. It's a massive thing, because I know like people are talking about it more now, which is good, but you know, this can start off just maybe, you know, drinking 1-2 times a week. It can escalate, and they're just masking up this kind of issue that's going on, and it's pretty sad. But that's cool, mate. That's good. I did a similar thing in lockdown. I did like a mental health awareness course, which ties in really well with like personal training and coaching, because sometimes, mate, people come to me, they'll see me 2-3 times a week. They're not interested in the exercise. They generally want to come and have a chat and get a sweat on, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and I think it's really important that you say that that's fine, because actually for some other trainers that wouldn't be fine. They'd be like, we're here to train and train only. So I do think it is finding that person that's right for you. You know, and whatever that outlet may be, it could be your friend, could be your trainer, could be your barber. But don't bottle it up.
Don't bottle it up. Let it out. Let it out.
Can I get a little quick update on how Kaz is and how her house is coming along?
Yes.
Etc. Etc.
So for those listening, Kaz is my old lady. That is the old dear, and that's my mum. So her house is going to be ready in September. So she's just before us. And it's got the trusses on now. She got a call yesterday, so it's up to the roof. So it's similar stage to where we are at with ours.
Nice.
She's still working far too much for a retired lady, but is in mad love with our dog Fred, which is fantastic. And I do believe she'll probably get another one when she moves.
Really? Oh, so you're keeping Fred? There's no negotiation about that.
I'm going to leave Fred with her, because.
Oh right, okay. Yeah, and she's going to get another one as well.
She will expand the clan 100%.
Oh, nice. Hopefully that means she'll get some more time to herself, because dogs need attention, right?
Massively, mate, massively. How is Bertie, the cat?
Bertie. So for those that don't know, Bertie is my cat. Probably would have got a dog, but I lived in a flat at the time. I didn't think that was necessarily that fair. So we got a cat. He's an exotic short hair. Please Google exotic short hairs, because they're not your run-of-the-mill cat. I might actually put a link in the show notes. No, please do, or make it the thumbnail for the episode or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, he is 1 in a million. His dad is the #1 exotic short hair in the country. So he's basically he's like royalty. Do you know what I mean? He's a prince. How is he? He's all right. When we lived in this flat while we were getting work done to our house, I genuinely thought he's depressed. There was no outside space. The window faced onto the road, which we had half frosted. So he couldn't even see things, couldn't see birds. I just felt so bad. And then he's actually got a heart condition, and they warned us that if his back legs go, it might mean that it's the end for him. So to bring him straight away, whilst we were in the flat, his back legs went.
Oh, no way.
Got him there. They were like, he's all right. Just keep an eye on him. I was saying to Yaz, he faked that to get out of that flat. That's how much he hated it. And so now he's back in the house, and he's got the garden. And now him and Liberty, that's my daughter, she's bonded with him. She calls him her boy, her piggy boy, and she strokes him. And now he like has warmed to her. He'll walk past and he'll have like Peppa Pig stickers on his fur. So yeah, he's fine. He's got a good life.
Oh, I'm glad he is fantastic. Such a character as well.
He is, yeah. He's very passive aggressive, but I wouldn't have him any other way. Yeah.
No, that is it, mate. That is it. But mate, thank you for taking out the time, mate, of your weekend. I know
thoroughly enjoyed it.
The weather in Jersey, I'm assuming, is very hot, and I believe
it is very hot. I'm actually. Oh well, this is the thing. Monday and Tuesday is meant to be like
38.
Really, yeah, something silly. Lucky enough to have the beach across the road, so you can get in a few dips after work, which is nice. Yeah. Keeps us cool. You've been to that beach, Green Island.
I've dipped in it, mate.
Yeah, I know it was cold then, but it's actually quite nice.
We did a morning dip, actually.
But yeah, Jersey's great. Great. Anyone who wants to visit Jersey, I'd highly recommend it. Well, Josh can probably highly recommend it.
Mate, I would 100%. We will be coming back. It is.
You need to put a Trivago link in this, like.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what we're looking at is we all want you to go traveling. We want you to visit Jersey. Please Google Bertie.
Take out credit cards. Do what you need to do. Pick a few bananas. Get an exotic short hair, and talk about your mental health.
And talk.
That is.
Protect yourself.
Yeah, that's the bullet points.
and they are the bullet points. So thank you for creating them. Thanks again, mate, for coming on. Send my regards to Yasmin and the family.
I will do. I'll let them know you were asking after them, and send my regards to Kaz and Ellie, and your sister and your nephew, and everyone. And I think that's about it. Yeah, that's about it for us.
Awesome, mate. Well, thank you for coming on.
I'm going to go and listen to the Luke Sundborg episode now. I can't believe I missed that.
Get that listened. You will enjoy that one, mate. I will speak to you soon, James. Take care.
All right. Speak to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, mate. Bye.